Michael Rubin, you might remember that name. He's the founder and CEO of Fanatics, a global, you know what Fanatics is. He also is the co-chair of the Reform Alliance, a criminal justice reform organization launched with Jay-Z, Meek Mill, and of course, if you mention Jay-Z and Meek Mill, Robert Kraft has also to be in that equation.
Oh, yeah.
Michael joins us on the Volkswagen Dealers Expert Hotline. Michael Rubin, hello, sir.
What's happening, guys? How you doing?
We are doing well, thank you. And you were talking about Fanatics Fest, which is going on August 16th to 18th at the Javits Center in New York City. And I mentioned the philanthropic work you do with Reform Alliance. I've always been fascinated by Robert Kraft's relationship with Meek Mill. Robert Kraft is an old billionaire. Because I understand Jay-Z. They're most.
Whoa! The old. He thinks he's like a 35-year-old. So we can't call him that
makes
old.
sense.
I mean, he might be old in years, but in heart, he's young. He's young and vibrant, my friend.
He's old. So, no, but you know,
I'm old. He's young. Listen, he goes to bed at 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, and gets up by 6, 7 o'clock. I had a text from him this morning when I woke up at 5 a.m. asking me where I was.
Wow. Okay, I was going to ask you that. So I'm always fascinated. So you're a billionaire. You're a self-made guy. Tell me what time did you get up this morning, and like what do you do?
Perfect.
To get like tell me the schedule of your day, because I got to guarantee there's stuff that no one else does. Go ahead.
I was up at 4:30. I was at my desk responding to a couple hundred emails I didn't get to in the last 2 days, and then I got myself perfectly organized for the day so I could go kill it and have a blast. But that's for me. Look, I got the greatest job in the world. I love doing what I do. I generally do it 17 hours a day, just about every day of the week, or every day of the year, honestly. And people make fun of me, say, like, why don't you have a life outside of working? But I love doing what I'm doing. Like, if you can, wake up and go to bed so excited about what you're doing, you just enjoy it so much, that's the greatest opportunity that you could ever be afforded.
So, because you've had all this success and you've reached all these financial goals, you never have to worry about money again. And you still find great value and pleasure from actually working on the business.
Look, you got to go back and say, I'm one of the world's worst students known to mankind. I barely made it out of high school. I didn't go to college. As bad as a student as I was a worse athlete. And so you do what you're good at. And for me, I was always great at work, and I was always great at business, and I always really loved it and enjoyed it. And so I just do what I love to do. And you're always to me, learning is a great privilege, and getting better at your craft's a great, honor. And so I do that every day, and I'm always just trying to learn from the people around me, have fun doing it. And by the way, we have a blast of what we do. Like I said, I work with thousands of the greatest athletes in the world. We serve over 100 million incredible sports fans. So what could be better than doing that?
Yeah.
Boy, that's what I want to do.
And you have your children, you got a family. Is that the advice you would give your kids? Like, you don't have to go to college. Find something that you're passionate at. Where would you stand when you're giving advice to kids?
Of course not. I would tell my kids they got to do as well as they could possibly do. And by the way, college is right for most people. It wasn't right for me. And my daughter is going to go to USC in the fall. Couldn't be more excited about it. But she, there's a moment she said to me, Dad, don't give me the BS that, I need to go to college. You didn't go to college. I can do this on my own. And she wants to build a really big apparel brand one day. But ultimately, what I think I've instilled in my 18-year-old daughter, and I also have a 4-year-old and 2-year-old, what I've instilled in my 18-year-old daughter is work ethic and hustle. She's been by my side, for 18 years, and she's watched me. She's with me so much, and she just sees the hustle and the work ethic and how we bring people together. And even at big events, you see like the White Party last week or the Fanatics Super Bowl party, or lots of things that you see Robert at. She sees how we're bringing things together and how we're connecting all the dots. So to me, what I've taught my daughter is just, I'm going to outwork and out hustle everybody.
2-year-old. That's why you're up at 4:30. You want an hour to yourself before that one gets up.
Yeah. My 2-year-old and 4-year-old were in a different location than I was today. So, honestly, right now I'm just so locked in on Fanatics Fest. No one's ever done anything like this before. We're creating this sports festival, which really, I don't know if you guys know this, it really came from me walking to some of the big trading card shows and then also going to Comic-Con and South by Southwest and Coachella and seeing all these great festivals. I'm there's nothing like this in sports. Why is there not a great sports festival? So we really just said we got to bring the best athletes, the best artists, the best sports fans, the best sports properties, the best sports teams together. No one's ever done what we're going to do at Javits in New York City, August 16th or 18th. And by the way, we got a lot of New England royalty coming. Tom Brady's going to be there, interviewed by Stephen A. Smith in front of a couple thousand people. He's also going to be throwing passes to a couple hundred local lucky kids. We've seen that never works well when he throws a pass to me, so he's got him throwing to much more coordinated 8 to 12-year-olds. Robert Kraft's going to be there. We're going to have a bunch of the Celtics basketball players there. We got Big Poppy's going to be there, but we're bringing 200 incredible athletes together. All the leagues are going to be there, run the 40-yard dash in the NFL, take batting practice at baseball. Or if you're like a WWE fan, you can come out to the entrance that the WWE superstar would come to. So, no one's ever done anything like this before.
I didn't understand that. At WWE, what happens?
WWE, the way a superstar makes their entrance, you as a fan can make the same entrance. You pick your music, come out, and you do the WWE entrance. It's amazing. It's the only athletic thing that I could do at Fanatics Fest is make a WWE entrance. I think we got Dana White with the UFC and fighting competitions and how hard can you punch into to be rated from a UFC perspective. So each league's going to activate. We're going to have a big collector show, special merchandise drops, but really everything's really centered around 200 incredible athletes that will be there. And no one's ever brought this many athletes in a show like this together before.
Well, Michael, it looked to me as I was investigating this kind of looks like it has the vibe of what they try and do with the Super Bowl every year with the NFL fan experience, except this is for all sports. And the one thing you don't get at an NFL fan experience is the athletes. You're walking around with a bunch of like-minded sports fans, and there's a lot of cool stuff to see and do, but the actual athletes themselves aren't there, and it's only about football. This is a bit of everything, and the actual guys, like you mentioned, Brady, David Ortiz, Barry Sanders, the guys like that are going to be there.
And I've met him.
So that to me is the best way I was trying to figure it out in my own head. It's there's an NFL fan experience, Super Bowl thing, but for everybody.
It's exactly what we went into the NFL Fan Fest, the Major League Baseball All-Star Fan Fest, what NBA does at All-Star Game. We looked at each sports event and said, how do we take the best part of that, combined with getting the best athletes in the world together with 100,000 sports fans in New York City. And when this works, our dream, our vision is how do we do this in every big city in the world? So how do we do this in China? How do we do this in Japan? How do we do this in England? How do we do this in Los Angeles? How do we bring this to the biggest cities in the world? And there's something like this in kind of like Comic-Con. And I went to Comic-Con in New York City and I saw a couple 100,000 passionate fans, by the way, most of them dressed up in their, in the characters they care most about, walking through the show. I'm like, why do we not have anything like this in sports? So it really is what you said, a combination of what you have at the Super Bowl, what you have at each big marquee sports event, together with the athletes in one spot. And, for us, this is only about how do we create an incredible connection with sports fans that you can't do by selling the merchandise in the same way. So I think everyone who comes through here should be a giant fan of Fanatics and, really just, give them an experience that nobody else would give them.
Now, you say your experience from walking through card shows and stuff like that. I know you were owner of teams and you're a billionaire and everything, and you work closely with all these athletes. But was that something that you did is that you collected at any point? Were you into that kind of thing, like the sports collectibles? I know Fanatics, the brand.
100%. That was my first business. When I was 8, 9, 10 years old, I would always trade cards. The difference with me was most kids my age would trade them with each other, and I want to find their parents who had the money to sell them the cards. So I've been in that business since literally 40 years ago. But I hadn't been to a card show probably since I was 12 years old. And I went back 3 years ago to the National in Atlantic City, and I saw more than 100,000 collectors there, which was astronomical. It was amazing to see so many passionate collectors in one place. But the show didn't advance so much since the 80s when I was there last. And that's what gave me the idea to say we have to do something that's very different, that's really brand right, that brings all the leagues and the players into it. And that's what hasn't been done. So we have a great trading card section within Fanatics Fest, but that might be 20% of what's there or 30%
Right.
of what's there. Then you bring in the leagues, the teams,
Right.
even if you like all the Super Bowl rings or all the Lombardi trophies or, just, some of the best memorabilia. We're going to have hundreds of millions of dollars of trading cards there, memorabilia there. It'll be the biggest show that's ever come to New York City, really the biggest sports festival in the world.
Is there anything that you would still want, like in terms of like collectibles, like sports collectibles? I mean, you've owned teams. You could pretty much buy anything. Is there anything that if you saw it, you'd be like, I got to have it, like a particular athlete, a particular event? I mean, you could get real particular. I mean, you could go like first Olympics or something. Is there anything that
I'll
you would
tell
really
you, I just bumped into a complete coincidence on Sotheby's, something that really was important to me. It was very inexpensive a few months ago. So when I was in 1995, I owned Apex One, and we made Karl Malone's basketball shoes. And he actually won MVP. I can't remember whether it was like 97 or 98 the year or what year he won MVP. It was around that period of time. And somehow a pair of his shoes that we made was actually on Sotheby's, and I just bought them. Like, well, I think about these shoes every couple of years, and I actually bought these shoes. I have them in my office, but there's always incredible pieces of memorabilia. I just found something in my house this weekend from last year where C.J. Stroud threw me a pass. It's probably the only time I've ever caught a pass against Odell Beckham, and he signed the ball for me. He said, "Rube, the most athletic thing you'll ever do." CJ, that could be my favorite piece of memorabilia now because it actually it connected to actually the one athletic moment I've ever had in my life.
Yeah, and when people are talking, we're talking to Michael Rubin. When people wonder if the Fanatics Fest is going to be this big event, even in his personal life, you mentioned this earlier in the interview, your white party, and you mentioned like these athletes throwing you passes. The white party in the Hamptons is now like the iconic party in the United States all year round. And it's 400 of these like celebrities. Now, do you make that guest list, or do you have a team make the guest list? Because I have to imagine there's people you're not friends with. You do it all.
I do it all. I do it all myself. Look, it's something like that. You got to make sure the people you're bringing together really come together well because you want to have just about everyone there are people that I'm pretty friendly with. I mean, there's always some new people who has to be invited that if we think they're a good fit, we'll add. But it's really. Most of that group, and people say, like, why is this person there? They're not big enough to be there because they're my friends, because they're people I love, because they're people I care about.
It's not so much that they're big enough, but like someone like the lady that's dating the pitcher from the All-Star game,
Livy Dunn.
Livy Dunn. Like, do you know her? Or is that like, okay, I want to meet her?
No, actually, I joke with Livy because Livy is going to be incredibly successful in whatever she does because I didn't know Livy, but Livy wanted to make sure she came to this party because she had a lot of friends coming there that she was friendly with, and people kept asking me about her, and her agent reached out, and actually her boyfriend is a very important baseball player to us. And finally, after like 20 people asked me, I'm like, I love her persistence. We need her, and she came. She was an incredible addition to the party. I actually just ran into her yesterday at Baseball All-Star Game, and we were kind of laughing about it. But she was a great addition. She was amazing. She's a great athlete. She's got a great personality. She was. It was great to have her there.
And Grant Williams, our own Grant Williams.
This is the one that, we talked about as much as anything else, Michael. How did Grant Williams get there?
Because you're friends?
Because he's my friend.
Okay.
And he's my friend. I love Grant. That's what people don't understand. People say, "Oh, why was Grant there? Or why was Mo Bamba there? Or why was somebody else there?" Because these guys are my friends. I feel like I've grown up with Grant. He's been a good friend to me. He's a guy who I have a lot of respect for.
It's just that Grant's a lot. It's just that Grant's a lot. If you're friends with him, he's a lot. Like, we like Grant.
He's a lot of energy.
He's a lot of energy.
Let me tell you the biggest problem with Grant. I got one major problem with him. He played against us in the football game. So it was Brady, me, Micah Parsons, Travis Scott. Who else was on my team? These guys are sitting me. And then on there today, they had C.J. Stroud, Grant, Quavo, and DeMar Hamlin. And Grant is a strong dude. He played center. And I had myself and another guy. It was supposed to be touch football, but it was more like just let's kill Grant. And I gave it everything I had, and my body hurt after. I need to put him on a diet because right now he's very hard to take down.
So at the white party, you guys play a football game?
Well, we had it. Yeah, it was all over social. We had an impromptu football game, the day before. I had a 30-person intimate barbecue at my house that turned into 180 people the day before the white party, and we ended up having a football game. And I was sure when Brady, it was the first time everyone ever said, like, I'll take you, because I'm used to being picked last in a sporting event.
Right.
Tommy said, come on, you're on my team. I'm like, okay, I got Brady. And what I didn't realize is DeMar Hamlin and C.J. Stroud looked at Brady. They're like, we may never get this chance again. We're taking him. And Tommy was having fun, and these guys came to kill.
Really? So they outworked Tom in the game. Tom actually took, because I don't know him, but he's this well-known like competitor. He's competitive at everything.
Oh, he was competitive as heck. The problem was he had me on his team, so I was negative value. He threw a touchdown to Travis Scott right away, and then we actually had Odell on our team too. But Odell was very distracted during the game, if I'm being honest. So I think it was.
What was distracting him?
I think who was distracting him? There might have been. He might have had a variety of friends distracting him.
Okay. Odell Beckham. So you're saying Odell Beckham was one of the more popular guests at your party with the people. You're saying
he was distracted. He was not Odell, as much as I love him, he was not on his A game. Robert was actually there earlier in the day. I tried to get him out, but he ran out before the football game started.
Okay, and him and Meek Mill, they have real conversations. They connect on a friend level.
100%. Robert loves Meek. Meek loves Robert. They actually met. I'll tell you the story of how they met. I was going to All-Star game in baseball when it was in Miami. I think it was like 2018. And, Robert's always very curious. So he was asking Meek lots of questions, and Meek was asking him lots of questions. It was one of the first times I introduced the two of them. I just sat back and kind of listened to the conversation. They were each so curious about each other's backgrounds. And, Robert about, where Meek came from, how he, accomplished what he did in his career, kind of where he wanted to go, how he was kind of giving back to his people. And Meek had so many questions about Robert, about how he accomplished what he wanted to. So it's a great conversation. They have a truly extraordinary friendship. And look, the one thing I'll tell you, and they're telling me I got to run, but the one thing I'll tell you is, whether it's Fanatics Fest, where I want to bring together 200 of the best athletes and 100,000 sports fans, or it's the white party where I bring together 400 people, or it was Robert and Meek that day, like, we all like it. Robert's the same way, bringing people with different backgrounds together, and then we can all learn from each other. And I can tell you, we're all learning from each other every day. And whether it's Robert learning from me learning from Robert, us learning from Meek, or vice versa, we're all learning from each other every day. And that's what makes, when people with different backgrounds come together, it may seem weird to you, like, what the heck does Meek Mill and Robert Kraft have to do with each other? Because, one, they have mutual respect for each other, and two, they learn from each other. And so each of those guys are big learners.
All right. Well, there you go. Michael Rubin bringing people together. The Fanatics Fest going on in New York City, the Javits Center, August 16th through the 18th. And, hey, listen, it was great talking to you. We appreciate having you on.
Hey, great being with you guys. Thanks so much.
All
Thanks,
right, take
Michael.
it easy. There you go. Michael, he's off on time.